I have confirmed and very serious information. There is a military camp called Hania, located about 15 kilometers west of Ajdabia. It has been fully evacuated from all military and security forces. And because it has large arms stocks, unknown planes are now attacking it. They are trying to destroy it.
Earlier pictures from Tripoli, the most recent in fact, suggest violence but give little idea about who's winning. Gunfire can be heard, but then again recent pictures to come out of the second city, Benghazi, also showed protesters being attacked and hurt. Yet just a few hours later, more emerged, which appear to back up claims by protest organisers that the city has fallen to the demonstrators, who are busy reorganising local government.
It is no longer under military control. It is completely under the demonstrators' control. We're having the tribal leaders chipping in, everybody's chipping in to try to set up civil committees to run the city. We have already successfully set up a committee to protect the subsidized goods warehouses, which are paramount because they have the flour and grains which are necessary for the bread in the city.
Libya's leader has allowed himself to be filmed in recent days in front of his supporters, but has said nothing. His son did, though, warning in the strongest terms that the man who has run the country for 40 years won't go down without a fight.
The leader, Muammar Gaddafi, is leading the battle, and armed forces are with him, and tens of thousands are coming to Tripoli in his support. We will not give up Libya. We will fight until the last man, the last woman, until the last bit of energy.
Tough talk, but in other places as well, the protesters seem to have weight of numbers behind them. This is said to be the town of Al-Baida, where funerals for dead activists attracted thousands. This place, too, has reportedly fallen. But there's no question that Tripoli now holds the key to Colonel Gaddafi's political survival. Whether his regime has to rely on mercenaries, as has been alleged, which way the army will go, are crucial. It feels like it's coming to a head, though with two sides in this fight, it's certainly a different situation to Tunisia or Egypt. Worse could follow. Lawrence Lee, Al Jazeera.
Well, the profits from Libya's vast oil reserves remain a point of ongoing tension between the opposition and ruling elite. The son of Colonel Muammar Gaddafi has ruled out separation of the country's resources.
Libya's oil unites us. We have one source which all 5 million Libyans benefit from. It's not in the east or in the west, it is in the middle. If we separate, who is going to run and manage these oil resources? How are we going to divide this up between us? Who is going to support our children, distribute food, provide hospitals and schools? Do you think we can split the country up? We may agree for a few months on how to divide it, but it will become a burning issue, the cause of fighting between all tribes, because the oil is in the middle and the south. That is desert, which is not inhabited.
Meanwhile, in a sign of growing dissent, a former senior government official has spoken out against the regime. Mohammed Bayou, until a month ago, was the chief government spokesman, said he hoped the government would change its speech to acknowledge the existence of an internal popular opposition. He also urged Gaddafi loyalists to enter into a dialogue with them and introduce through changes to the Libyan system. Well, the comments are evidence of internal disagreements within Libya's ruling elite. Ayoub went on to say the government was wrong to threaten violence against its opponents. Well, in another development, South Korea's foreign ministry says hundreds of Libyans have stormed the South Korean-operated construction site near Tripoli. At least 17 people were reportedly injured.
As with the Egyptian incident, South Korea's Land, Transport and Maritime Affairs Ministry is preparing to send special flights to the site if necessary. There are several South Korean construction camps in the Benghazi area. We have selected the largest and safest camp and chosen it as the safety shelter. We have taken measures so that South Korean people can all move and evacuate to the camp in case anything happens.
Well, foreign citizens caught up in the unrest are starting to leave the country. UK embassy staff have been told to fly home. Oil giant BP is preparing to pull its staff from the country. Meanwhile, around 300 Turkish citizens who were evacuated from Libya have returned to Istanbul. Nazanin Sadri reports.
Tears of relief. Men, women and children board a Turkish mercy flight out of the city Benghazi. They witness and experience some of the horrors in the city at the center of Libya's uprising.
The experience that we had in Libya cannot be told, it could only be lived.
Our construction site was ransacked by local people on Saturday night at about 3:15 in the morning. We were all ready for a situation like this. Everybody was sleeping in their daytime clothes.
A few hours later, the sounds of the 300 passengers as they touch down in Istanbul, back on home soil. In the days to come, there will be more such reunions as governments around the world work out how to ensure their citizens aren't counted among the dead and injured victims of the Libyan revolt. Nazanin Sadri, AlJazeera.
Well, the European Union is planning for the possible evacuation of its citizens from Libya. EU foreign ministers are meeting later on Monday. They're finalising a statement condemning the Libyan government's crackdown on protesters. Well, an early draft of a joint statement says the Council condemns the ongoing repression against peaceful demonstrators in Libya and deplores the violence and death of civilians. Freedom of expression and the right to assemble peacefully are fundamental rights of every human being, which must be respected and protected. Well, the EU's foreign policy chief said she's concerned over the continuing violence in Libya.
Really worried about what's happening in Libya at the present time. We've been urging restraint. We continue to do so. It's very important. You'll have heard it, I think, from all the foreign ministers coming in that you've asked tonight. It's very, very important that this violence stops and they move to dialogue.
Well, Jackie Rowland is in Brussels, where EU foreign ministers have been meeting. Just how easy has it been for them to try and reach some sort of agreement on what to say, Jackie?
Well, yes, we've been getting some really stark warnings from EU foreign ministers and stark predictions as well. I mean, obviously the EU to an extent was criticised for being a bit slow in reacting and maybe not giving the kind of strong expressions of moral support that might have been appropriate during the uprisings in Egypt and Tunisia. But the level of violence in Libya, I think, has prompted them into more vocal, more clear statement of position. And also, as I said, some real expressions of deep concern about what's happening there. Let's hear what the French government spokesman had to say.
We are very worried and quite shocked. We firmly condemn everything that is happening. This is unbelievable violence. It can fall into civil war that is extraordinarily violent and long. It has already begun, and we've got to do everything on a diplomatic level. Coordinate with the American positions and that of the European Union to prevent a drama from taking place.
Jackie, as I'm sure you're aware, Gaddafi's son has been sort of waving in the horizon there, concerns about oil, concerns about rising Islamic regimes. How are those messages being felt by European officials as they sit down to think about their interests?